Hi, I'm Dr. Duke, and welcome to our new Freedom Project media segment, The Takeaway. The Takeaway is our weekly conversation between me and correspondent Alex Newman. Alex Newman, of course, is writing a wonderful blog for us twice a week entitled The Newman Report. So this is our inaugural conversation here on The Takeaway, and I'd like to welcome to the show Alex Newman.
Hey, thanks very much, Duke. It's great to be here with you.
Fantastic. I loved your article for us on Betsy DeVos. Of course, Mrs. DeVos, the Secretary of Education for the United States, came out recently and declared that we don't have to do anything about Common Core because the Every Student Succeed Act passed in December of 2015 effectively does away with Common Core. What are your thoughts on that, Alex?
It's really amazing to hear this. I've covered the ESSA pretty extensively. And far from abolishing Common Core, or, as she put it, effectively or basically getting rid of Common Core and ending the debate, it actually entrenched Common Core. So we still have Common Core in place in almost every state, including the states that never adopted it to begin with, have various forms of it, and the ones that changed their, marketing tactics and renamed it things like the Indiana State Standards. But what this bill does is it actually gives the U.S. Secretary of Education the power to approve or disapprove of different standards. And so this effectively keeps Common Core in place. It even uses a lot of the same language, college and career ready standards and so on and so forth.
Well, this really is the rise, the fait accompli of FedEd, federal education. What the Republicans did in December 2015, and you may recall the Republicans controlled the Senate and they controlled the House. They rammed through this legislation, the Every Student Succeeds Act, the ESSA. They rammed it through in 2 days. Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, gave his Republicans exactly 2 days to consider about an 1,100-page bill. And while it's true that the ESSA Act does mitigate certain aspects of Common Core, the bulk of Common Core remains in place. So what's going on with Betsy DeVos and all of this? And what's going on with the Republicans? They talk a good game about wanting to get rid of Common Core, about wanting to return local control to the states, but they never do it, and they certainly haven't done it here.
That's right. And, with the ESSA bill, it was pretty amazing. You had a lot of Republicans coming out, and I don't know whether they actually believed the leadership on this or whether they were participating in the fraud, but they claimed that this was going to restore local control to state and local governments. In fact, nothing could be further from the truth. And Education Secretary Arne Duncan, who was Obama's education secretary at that time, came out and said, hey, this is wonderful. For the first time in history, our entire education agenda is now in everything Obama wanted is now in federal law, including the mandatory, government federally approved standards, including the federal interventions in schools that they don't think are up to the cuff. So basically, government schools in America have been federalized. The ESSA was kind of the coup de grace here. And, it's a big problem. The Republicans are being incredibly deceptive, and anybody who read Arne Duncan's would easily be able to see through this. So we have a big problem with the Republicans as well. I can't imagine Betsy DeVos really believes what she's saying. And so we have a very, very big problem here.
Betsy DeVos did. She parroted the typical Republican response. And I think what you said makes sense. I'll bet you the vast majority of Republicans who had lawmakers who had 2 days to read this bill, 1,000 pages plus, they didn't bother to read it any more than they ever bothered to read Obamacare. The leadership, the deceptive leadership of Paul Ryan, some people like Lamar Alexander of Tennessee told these legislators that this was going to get rid of all the problems, it was going to return local control. And it staggers me to think that Betsy DeVos either is completely ignorant about what the Republicans passed, or she's being deceptive as well. In any event, it looks awfully bleak that Donald Trump is going to come through on the promises he made to us, that he was going to get rid of the Department of Education, he was going to do away with Common Core, and he was going to re-establish actual local control of schools.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Duke. At this point, we are still right at square one. We're not any closer to getting rid of Common Core today than we were on, the final days of the Obama administration's term in office. So Trump may genuinely want to do this, but so far, we're not any closer to actually getting that done. And Betsy DeVos's comments that, effectively Common Core is not an issue anymore, that the argument's over, that is really, really troubling from the perspective of those of us who believed that, Trump was going to actually follow through on these promises and get rid of Common Core. Again, we're not any closer, and we need to keep up the activism and the information and the education on trying to solve this issue.
It is amazing, but if we look at the Trump proposed budget that the Republicans are pushing, and we see that there is no money for the wall, we see that Planned Parenthood is left untouched, they get all their funding, we see sanctuary cities are not punished in the least, we recognize that this isn't the first area where Republicans in general are selling out all of their promises and betraying the American people. Alex, thank you so much for being here on this inaugural segment of Takeaway, and we'll talk again to you soon. If you enjoyed this video and all of our videos, please consider a tax-deductible donation so we can keep the whole thing free for you. I'm Dr. Duke. Thanks for watching.